The idea of doing surrender turns it into another goal, another task to accomplish. The mind turns even peace into a project. It says, if I meditate long enough, I'll enter silence. If I surrender deeply enough, I'll be free. But silence that is reached by effort is not silence at all. It's only the pause between two noises. It's still part of the same movement of becoming. So what is real surrender? It's not an act. It's an understanding. It's the moment you see the futility of control so clearly that control simply stops. It's the end of resistance, not because you fought it, but because you saw through it. The river doesn't decide to merge with the ocean, it simply flows, and the merging happens on its own. The river's current doesn't think about where it's going. It doesn't measure the distance. It doesn't keep score. It just moves, because movement is its nature. In the same way, when you stop interfering, when you stop calculating what awakening should look like or when it should arrive, something natural begins to unfold. That unfolding is what I call surrender, effortless, spontaneous, complete. Imagine you are holding a fistful of sand. The tighter you hold, the more it slips away. And the more you try to catch what's slipping, the faster it falls through your fingers. That's the mind. It cannot allow things to simply be. It must manipulate, grasp, understand, and control. It's terrified of the unknown. That's why letting go becomes its favorite illusion, because it gives it a false sense of participation, a comforting belief that it is still in control of the process. But the truth is, surrender happens only when the mind is not involved at all. When you really begin to see this game, something beautiful happens. You laugh. You laugh not out of mockery, but out of relief. You realize the absurdity of all your efforts, all your spiritual seriousness. You see that all your meditations, your disciplines, your practices, they were nothing but games played by the mind to delay its own ending. The moment you see this clearly, a deep relaxation takes over. Not a forced calmness, but a quiet recognition that there's nothing to hold on to, nothing to let go of, nothing to control, nothing to lose. This relaxation is not the result of surrender, it is surrender itself. In this state, you don't say, I have surrendered. The very sentence becomes meaningless. There's no one left to make the claim. You simply notice that all resistance is gone. Life moves through you, unopposed. You breathe, but there is no breather. You listen, but there is no listener. You love, but there is no lover. And in that state, even the idea of freedom disappears. Because freedom was always the shadow of bondage. When bondage ends, the shadow of freedom is also gone. What remains is something beyond both, beyond the pairs of opposites, beyond the mind's vocabulary. Osho once said, to let go is not to do something, it is to stop interfering. But interference is the mind's heartbeat. When you see that clearly, interference ends on its own, and when interference ends, what remains is life in its pure form. There's no you living it anymore. There's just life happening, unfolding, dancing. You are no longer the actor. You become the stage upon which existence performs. Now you may ask, if even surrender is not something I can do, then what can I do? How can awakening ever happen if the doer disappears? That is the next paradox, and it's perhaps the most beautiful one. Because what you call awakening does not happen because of your effort. It happens when all effort dissolves. But to understand this, you must see what effort really is and what remains when it ends. Let us move into that next space together, into the paradox of non-doing, where freedom is no longer something to be reached, but something that begins when all reaching stops. What I am about to share with you now will sound like the strangest thing in the world to the logical mind, because the mind has been raised on the idea that everything valuable comes through effort. It says, you must strive to succeed, you must fight to win, you must earn what you receive. The mind lives by the law of cause and effect. It believes that everything must be achieved, even enlightenment. But truth is not a result, and awakening is not a reward. You cannot climb toward it because it is not above you. You cannot search for it because it is not lost. You cannot reach it because it has never been away. It is already here, now, in this breath, in this silence between thoughts. But the seeker, in its rush to find it, keeps passing it by. The mind's obsession with doing is so deep that even when it meditates, it tries to achieve something through meditation. It says, if I sit long enough, if I breathe correctly, if I chant purely, I'll enter peace. But peace that depends on a method will vanish when the method ends. Silence that requires control will break the moment. Control is lost. The truth does not depend on any condition. It's not a state you reach. It's what remains when all states fall away. The seeker who meditates to reach silence is like a man trying to capture the wind with a net. The tighter he holds, the more he loses. There's a story about a young archer who spent years training to make the perfect shot. He learned every technique, every stance, every breath. He could hit any target. But his teacher, an old master, watched and said, "Now drop everything you've learned." The student was shocked. "How can I shoot if I drop everything?" The master smiled, took the bow, and released an arrow without aim, without effort. The arrow flew straight into the center of the target. "You see," said the master, "the perfect shot happens when the shooter disappears." That is what I mean when I say awakening happens through non-doing. When the I is no longer trying, life moves through you with effortless precision. All methods, all paths, all practices, they can bring you to the edge, but they cannot make you cross. They can prepare the ground, they can exhaust your illusions, but they cannot give you the final step, because the final step is not yours to take. It happens when you stop, when you are so utterly tired of trying that even effort falls away. In that pause, that exhaustion, that surrender, the door opens, because the door was never locked. You were knocking on it from the inside. The mind is terrified of this idea because it thrives on control. It says, if I stop doing, everything will fall apart. Life will lose meaning. I'll become empty, passive, useless. But that fear is based on a misunderstanding. Non-doing does not mean inactivity. It means natural activity. It means moving from the same source that makes trees grow, Waves crash, hearts beat, and stars explode. Existence has been doing perfectly fine without your management. You are not the conductor of life's orchestra, you are the music itself. When effort ends, a strange lightness enters. You feel as though the weight of the world has slipped off your shoulders. Actions still happen. You speak, you walk, you work. But now there is no tension, no expectation, no anxiety about results. You are not acting for tomorrow. You are simply flowing with this moment. Every gesture becomes graceful because there is no ego forcing it. The flower blooms without trying. The sun rises without planning. The bird sings without rehearsal. This is the beauty of non-doing. It's not laziness, it's total responsiveness to the moment. Look at the child before the world teaches him ambition. He runs, he plays, he laughs, he cries. There is no calculation, no plan, no purpose. He is simply moving with life's current. That child has not lost touch with the Tao, the effortless flow of existence. As you grow, society fills you with goals, ideals, deadlines. You lose your natural rhythm, your spontaneity, your ease. You begin to move like a machine, and the mind becomes your master. But when you begin to see this, when you truly understand that all your effort has only built walls around your being, something inside starts to melt. That melting is grace. That melting is awakening. Awakening does not arrive with thunder and lightning. It comes quietly, like dawn. It doesn't announce itself. It simply replaces the darkness. Suddenly, you notice that the anxiety is gone. The search has ended. And yet nothing dramatic has happened. You are still you, but lighter, as if life has dropped its burden. It's not that you've become someone new. It's that the one who was trying so hard to become has disappeared. And in that absence, everything glows with a new light. You may ask, but how will I live then? How will I function without effort? You will function better than ever before, because your actions will come not from the mind but from awareness, not from fear but from love. When there is no desire to achieve, every act becomes pure, total. The mind creates conflict because it divides. Awareness unites. The mind plans and worries. Awareness simply sees and responds. When you act from awareness, there is no hesitation, no guilt, no regret. You don't live life, life lives through you. And when this happens, freedom no longer feels like something distant or mystical. It feels ordinary, so ordinary that it's sacred. Eating becomes meditation. Walking becomes prayer. Listening becomes worship. You begin to understand that everything you were searching for was always hidden in the simplicity of this moment. So the paradox is this: the more you try to reach awakening, the further it slips. But the moment you stop, the moment the effort ends, the truth reveals itself not as something you find, but as something that has been waiting patiently all along. Now the question arises, if all effort dissolves and the mind no longer leads, what remains to guide you through life? If there's no seeker, no doer, who lives, who loves, who acts, let us move into that mystery beyond the mind, into the silent space of awareness itself. When all the noise of seeking and striving fades, when the restless engine of doing runs out of fuel, something exquisite, begins to emerge. A silence that is not forced, a stillness that is not created. It doesn't arrive because you invited it. It was there all along, waiting behind the curtain of thought. You begin to feel this quiet presence, this spaciousness that has nothing to do with the mind's movements. At first, it feels strange, empty, almost unsettling, because you have lived your whole life inside noise. You've always identified with the voice that talks, the thought that plans, the feeling that grasps. But as awareness grows, you start to notice that you are not those movements. You are the open space in which they arise and disappear. You are not the clouds, you are the sky that holds them. You are not the waves, you are the ocean in which they dance. When you see this, the mind loses its power to disturb you. Thoughts come, but they no longer stick. Emotions arise, but they no longer drown you. The silence beneath remains untouched, unshaken, unmoved. This is the beauty of awareness. It does not fight with the mind, it simply outshines it. Just as the morning sun doesn't need to push away the darkness, awareness doesn't need to defeat thought. It just reveals its insubstantial nature. In that light, the mind's importance fades, and what remains is the pure knowing that watches everything yet belongs to nothing. For so long, you have believed that your thoughts define you, that if you stop thinking, you will disappear. But look closely between two thoughts. There is a gap, a pause, a silence. And yet, in that silence, you do not cease to exist. In fact, in that gap, you are more alive than ever. You are alert, aware, but completely still. That stillness is your true self. You don't create it through effort, you uncover it through understanding. Awareness is not an achievement, it's your nature. It's the background of every experience, the space in which life happens. You have been so fascinated by the movie of your mind that you forgot the screen that makes the movie possible. Awareness is that screen, ever present, untouched by the drama it displays. Now, awareness is not thought and it's not feeling. It is deeper than both. It has no form, no boundary, no age, no name. You cannot describe it, but you can sense it as a stillness behind all movement, as a peace that doesn't depend on circumstances. You may be angry, but awareness watches the anger. You may be sad, but awareness is not touched by sadness. You may feel joy, but awareness doesn't cling to joy. It simply sees. It simply is. And the more you rest in that seeing, the more you realize that awareness is not something you have. It's what you are. The mind wants to own awareness. It wants to say, I am aware. But awareness does not belong to you. You belong to it. You are a wave on the ocean of consciousness. And the moment you stop identifying as a separate wave, you realize you've always been the ocean. This realization doesn't make you special. It makes you ordinary in the most sacred way. Because when the separation ends, the need to be someone ends too. You no longer exist as a personality, you exist as presence. You no longer think of yourself as a person in the world, you feel yourself as the world itself. And in that state, there is no struggle left. Life unfolds with an effortless grace. You speak, but the words come on their own. You act, but there's no actor. You love, but there's no lover and no beloved. Only love flowing without direction, without need. This is what it means to live beyond the mind. It's not that the mind stops functioning. It still performs its practical tasks. It remembers, it plans, it organizes, but now it serves awareness rather than pretending to rule it. The servant has finally returned to its proper place, and the master, your true self, sits silently on the throne. When awareness deepens, even the idea of awareness disappears, because now there is no division between the watcher and the watched. There's no I am aware of this. There's only awareness itself, vast, infinite, unbroken. This is the state of total stillness, where the observer dissolves into the observed, and life becomes a single, seamless movement. Meditation, in its truest sense, begins here not as an act, but as a way of being. Osho once said, meditation is not the end of the mind, it is the beginning of witnessing. And that witnessing is not effort, it's the natural fragrance of awareness. When you rest as awareness, you are free from the illusion of control, from the tyranny of thought. You see that everything, even the mind's madness, is part of the same whole. You don't need to fix it. You just need to see it. Because seeing is transformation. What is seen clearly no longer has power over you. So now the question arises, if awareness is who you are, if life moves perfectly without the mind's interference, how does existence express itself through this silence? How does love, work, creativity, or joy arise when there is no seeker left to direct it? The answer lies in what comes next life. Without the seeker, life as a dance of pure freedom. Once the seeker disappears, once the constant striving fades into silence, something miraculous begins to happen. Life doesn't stop, it flowers. For the first time, existence breathes through you without resistance, without direction, without a purpose. The mind always wanted life to move according to its plans, its desires, its maps of what should be and what shouldn't. But when the mind finally bows down to silence, when the I that wanted to control dissolves into vast awareness, life takes over. It moves in its own rhythm, spontaneous, effortless, graceful. You don't live anymore as an isolated fragment of will. You live as the whole itself. You become like a flute empty inside, and through that emptiness, existence sings. You are no longer the musician, you become the music itself. This is why I say, freedom is not the absence of life, it's the fullness of it. Before, your actions came from fear, from need, from ambition. You acted because you wanted something in return, a reward, recognition, love, peace. Every gesture was a transaction. But now, action flows naturally, not from a plan, but from presence. You do what the moment calls for, and in that total response, there's no tension, no conflict. When you laugh, laughter comes from the whole being. When you speak, words rise from silence. When you love, It's not because you need love, it's because love is your nature. Without the seeker, life loses its heaviness. You no longer drag existence behind you like a burden. You dance with it. Every moment becomes fresh because there's no residue of the past and no projection of the future. You don't live out of memory anymore, you live out of awareness. The mind always looked ahead or looked back. Awareness lives only now. And this now is infinite. It's vast enough to contain all joy, all sorrow, all change. And yet it never changes. When you live from that space, everything you do, even the smallest thing, becomes sacred. Drinking water, walking under the sun, sitting in silence, everything glows with significance because you are finally seeing it without the filter of me. The mind used to divide life good and bad, success and failure, right and wrong. Now you see that these are just movements of the same energy. When the mind was the master, you lived in constant opposition to yourself. You wanted to be happy, so you rejected sadness. You wanted light, so you feared the dark. You wanted life, so you resisted death. But without the seeker, there's no one left to resist. Sadness comes, and it's beautiful. Joy comes, and it's beautiful. Life and death dance together, not as enemies, but as partners in the eternal rhythm of existence. This is the dance of freedom, where everything belongs and nothing is separate. There's no I standing apart to judge, to cling, to choose. The chooser is gone, and in its absence, choice happens naturally. It's like breathing. You don't decide to breathe, it just happens. You don't decide to love, to laugh, to cry. Life expresses itself through you in its own perfect way. The mind cannot understand this because the mind only knows control, but awareness knows trust. Awareness flows with existence as a leaf flows with the river. It doesn't resist the current. It doesn't fear the falls. It knows it cannot be separate from the water that carries it. People often ask me, if there is no self, no seeker, no controller, how can one live in the world? But the truth is, for the first time, you truly live in the world. Before, you were living in your thoughts about it, trapped in a private dream, interpreting everything through the lens of what does this mean for me? Without that lens, you see the world as it is, fresh, alive, boundless. You begin to participate in existence directly, not through thought, but through awareness. You don't plan love, you love. You don't chase beauty, you see it everywhere. You don't pursue meaning, life itself becomes meaningful. In this freedom, work no longer feels like work. Play no longer needs a reason. Rest no longer needs an excuse. Every action carries the same fragrance, the fragrance of totality. Whether you are silent or speaking, moving or still, all of it is the same, dense existence expressing itself through different gestures. You become like the wind, sometimes soft, sometimes fierce, sometimes still but always free. There's no personal agenda left, no fear of loss, no desire to gain. You move as life moves. You stop as life stops. You are aligned with the pulse of the cosmos itself. and the ordinary becomes extraordinary. The simple things, a cup of tea,